Welcome back to the Tim and Steve Show. I am Tim Beard.
Steve Morris.
Chief Wilmot.
Yes. I'll let you introduce yourself.
Yeah, well, you gave me the the international sign for go.
How's it going?
It's going well. How's it going with you?
Not bad.
It'd be nice if we got some summer.
Well, yes. But I'm working outside, so I'm kind of okay with the temperatures. Although this weekend sucked. It was cold. We had graduation.
Oh, yeah, it was cold, yeah.
Oh, it was cold. My little brother, I have a little brother who will be 17 next month. He just graduated from Kearsarge. He did the Kearsarge Adult Diploma program. That's what it was. And so on Saturday they had graduation. And normally, football field and all that on a normal day would be nice, but it was cold. It was.
Yeah, it was chilly this weekend. Good running weather, but
very good running weather.
I didn't run this past weekend, but
Yeah, me neither.
Me neither.
I took a week off.
I've been taking weeks off.
Yeah.
I think I'm going to put the batteries in my scale. I feel like I'm down a little bit just from as much
dehydration.
Well, I drink a lot of Gatorade, which is not
Full of
good.
sugar.
Yeah.
That's all that is sugar. So you're
I'll
just
probably be less
you're
weight
slaughtering
than I
your
am now.
pancreas.
Well, I was thinking about it the other day when I was walking up the hill to get a Gatorade, and I was like, when I'm on the elk hunt, I'm not just going to have a Gatorade.
You're going on an elk hunt?
Yep.
When?
October, up in Colorado, or out in Colorado.
Yeah, cool.
Will it be cell service?
My brother has a satellite phone. from
You're
the
so
windows up
satellite
above.
phoning in on the show.
What's the elevation?
Like 10 to 12,000 feet. I need to get me the Bane mask and start jogging, or at least walking up and down these hills.
Yeah, I mean, like
You know,
that's
like
that's
that.
very high elevation.
Yeah, it's.
You're bound to get sick if you
Yeah.
don't.
I think we're
acclimate.
going to take some oxygen.
Are you going to be up there for a little while?
I'm going to go at least a week ahead of time to try to work on the acclimation. I mean, it's not really that long.
No, but it's long enough,
So how long are you gone for?
Well, I'm going to be gone for a while because I think I'm going to swing back down through Texas, pick up some of the stuff I left at my parents' house 5-7 years ago when I went to Hawaii.
Chief, I'll have a seat here available for you for a little while in October if you can fit some time in there.
Yeah,
somewhere.
the whole time thing is going to be a
Time is.
it's going to be a challenge.
I
Yeah.
hear you there.
The interesting thing about time is that we all get the same amount of it.
Yeah.
True.
Yeah.
Time's the enemy.
It is. Can be.
I'm not a big fan of clock watching, being on the clock. I like to do things when I feel like doing it.
Yeah.
I don't like having a schedule.
You didn't get that fence done yet. I see that.
Oh, well, I told you I had analysis paralysis on that hole.
What are you analyzing?
Well, there's a rock. It's a boulder. And
Yeah.
so I've dug the hole maybe this wide now, trying to figure out, because I'm trying to link up the two end posts so I can put
Yeah.
a gate between them.
Yeah.
And so I would have to cut the post, I don't know, probably 4 inches. And with it bearing the weight of the gate, I don't really want to do that. So I keep digging the hole wider out, going out there and trying to chisel it with my rock chisel.
Told you, concrete. We got this.
I have concrete.
Let's do it.
Blast it.
That would be bad for the garden, I think.
It's far enough away, it wouldn't hurt anything.
Depends how much dynamite you put in there.
Yeah, be a man.
You have access to dynamite,
See-
Chief?
Well, he's from the army. Yeah, he's got access to C4.
No.
Yeah, see that?
Holding out.
See, yeah,
Oh,
you
he's
see
been
how he answered
holding
that? He's
out.
like, no. All you soldiers run off with all kinds of cool stuff.
I
Guns and
nothing.
C4. And
If you walk in my
Vehicles.
house, the only thing that you'll see that you know that I was in the Army is that green sweatshirt over there that's crumpled up from when I was in it's a first cab sweatshirt.
Steve, I'm not saying that you put it on display, dog. It's probably in a footlocker somewhere in the recesses of your bedroom. You've got plastic explosives and det cord.
I wouldn't think you'd have any C4 out for the dog to chew on or anything.
Yeah.
No.
Dad, the dog's into the C4 again.
I was a service support guy. Now they call it a logistician, which I don't care for most logisticians. So I still say service support, but I did things like mail, transportation, road.
Yeah. And that's
what
what
we're
guilty people say. They try to distance themselves from the guilty act.
I don't know where your C4 went.
Yeah.
It got mailed somewhere.
Dude, I wasn't involved in that. All I did is just the mail,
Mail and HR.
Man, as well as I know you, could have at least told me it's C4.
I do
Well,
not
you'll
have-
find out that it's C4 when that rock becomes a pebble. It becomes
When there's a giant hole
becomes
out there.
moon dust.
Speaking
I
of
got a new
C4, so the other day up to the land, Andrea and the baby were up there. Well, I say baby, she's 2 now, but all of a sudden United blasted in their pit and scared the crap. The new neighbor came over, like, is everything all right over here? And he's like, no, United blasted, their rock. And I know that happened to me one day. I was up there. I just got out of the
I was there. Remember?
Scared the crap out of me. I was like,
I dropped and hit the ground, basically. I was like, what the heck was that?
It sounded like tannerite times a lot.
Yeah, it was. The day I was there, it was loud.
Is there a certain amount of tannerite you're legally allowed to shoot at?
I have no idea.
Because I remember this happening with Bristol. Those guys got in trouble.
Yeah, they did. It was for like a baby reveal.
But it was a lot.
Yeah. And I've had experience with that, not on the shooting end of it, but on the law enforcement of it, where you have folks shooting tannerite, and it's causing like a disruption so large that like windows are shaking and stuff's falling off people's ceiling. I mean, like, to me, that's a problem. Like, I'm all about people shooting. I like to shoot too. I think I have shot a tannerite exploding thing. Well, I didn't actually shoot it. Somebody who I was with shot
That's
it
what they all say.
for a baby reveal. Okay, C4 guy.
He was in Bristol.
Yeah, Rocket Man. So no, I was at a gender reveal. It's cool. It's novel. You know what I mean? But doing a whole bunch of it and making people's windows shake and stuff. I can see where that would be.
Most I've ever done is 8 pounds, and I was nervous too, like. Because
Chief's gonna have to put his handcuffs on you. That's the limit.
I was doing it at the land, and so my shop was like a mile away, and the guy that was working for me was down there listening to me shoot like a pound, like boom, boom. And then all of a sudden he says, "I jumped when you shot the 8 pounds." Yeah, it's fun.
Done it, so.
Oh, it's so much fun. Yeah, we'll have to do it sometime.
There's something about like explosions that I find.
Like when the cannon went off,
I said to my wife, I was like, I love cannons to such a degree. It's just
I would have told her, like, how
it's
much
so manly.
Yeah.
No wonder you wear that hat.
Yeah, come and take it. Gonzalez, the first battle.
There it is. Remember last time? He just spent the rest of the show brooding.
Make sure I can spout that off.
You could have just made it all up. We would have been like, yeah.
Well, my family that watches,
Chief would have caught you, but I probably would never.
Half of our subscribers would have known.
It's true.
Rob wouldn't have. He would have been like, yeah, the Alamo.
How's the golf game?
I was helping Emilio with his swing the other day. I don't know. Did he give you any feedback on my coaching? Did he say anything?
No, he just bragged some more how good he is.
He's pretty good for only doing it for 2 months. He's got a nice swing.
Straight?
Yeah, I mean, he was just chipping and
he went golfing again yesterday. He golfs all the time.
But he has it's a nice swing. Like when I was watching him swing his club, it's very smooth, effortless, exactly what you want.
He's
to
the Mexican Tiger Woods. We tell him all the time.
Little
Tiger.
I think he wants to play football. So, but I'm like,
he's good at football.
I don't know if you can work it out. I was like, but it's a good sport to get into. It used to be, anyway.
So, just so you know, you just volunteered to take in the golf this fall if that happens.
I'll help out. I like to. We talked about the other day. I like to see kids participate in sports as much as they can.
Yeah. No,
it's good for them for so many reasons.
So many reasons.
Yeah.
Responsibility, leadership, followership.
Yeah. Winning, losing, grace.
Sportsmanship, grace.
So
this weekend, Wings and Wheels.
Save a Stray 5K.
Save a Stray. Are you doing a Save a Stray?
No. Racing it, no. I may end up working it. I'm not sure yet. I've kind of given it some consideration, but I don't want to talk too much about me. But the reality is, I took last week off from running, and a couple of weeks ago I ran a half marathon, and I sort of decided that I needed to have a little bit of a break from racing and competing because my brain was just like fried, Because
it's supposed to be relaxing, and you're too.
It's not relaxing, but it's just like my foot had been on the floor, like pedal to the metal for the better part of a year. So I ran a marathon in late September last year. So all summer was getting ready for that marathon. Then I recovered from the marathon and immediately started training for Houston. I recovered from Houston and immediately started training for Boston. I recovered from Boston and immediately started training for Covered Bridges. And then, let's throw in there Dancing with the Stars, applying for a new job, and like just a bunch of, other things that happen when you're an adult. And I was tired. So I'm taking a little break from competition until, I don't know.
So you decide.
I'm racing a marathon in California in December. So I'm going to have to get my mileage back up before that, but
so does that mean you haven't run it all for the last week?
No. I didn't run a single step last week. So I'd still, I wake up at 4:15 every morning, and I usually read for an hour, and then I run for an hour or more. Last week I just read for 2 hours, and it was nice. I had an extra cup of coffee, and I just sat on the couch and read. And
don't get too comfortable.
I know if I did that, I would be toast.
Like me. Next thing you know,
no, because
third place in an 8K.
Yeah, no. I've been running. I ran Monday. I ran Tuesday twice. I ran yesterday. So I'll run this afternoon after I get out of work. So
nice. Anything on the interim police chief in Newport or any of that stuff?
No. They posted the position on Monday. I know that they got a half dozen or so applications pretty early on, and I've told the town manager and that I'm willing to help find my replacement, whether it be long term or on an interim basis, and he's open to that, and we have a sort of an open dialogue going back and forth about it, but no decisions yet.
So you're here until July 22nd?
Yeah.
We have him for another month.
Yeah. July 22nd.
I feel like we're in a custody battle over the chief.
He's only a town away.
Yeah, that's it. It's going to feel for a little while like I'm more than a town away, though, because it's going to take me some time to get established, and not established in meet people in town, but there's just going to be a lot of work to do to get my feet firmly on the ground.
Reacclimated to the environment.
Yeah, I think the PD itself, I'm totally comfortable inside the PD, right? It's probably the same way you are, when you don't play golf for a while, then you put a golf club in your hand. It just feels normal. I feel that way in the building, but they have just a totally different model of local governance. The police department is run in a totally different way. We have a 3-person police commission as opposed to a town manager. It's a city. It's not a town. You have city councilors, and there's just a lot of different things. And there's a lot more people and a lot more activity and just a lot more to do. And then, of course, when you're the new guy, everybody wants to have their time with you. So whether it be, let's just throw out random people, right? It could be people from the school, and you have MOUs that you have to execute, and surrounding agencies you have to do mutual aid agreements, and the county attorney's office we have an agreement with them on prosecution. So there's just a lot of time consuming. You're
like the new puppy. Everybody wants time with the puppy, right?
Yeah, but at the same time, the business of the organization doesn't stop. So you still have bills to pay, you still have phones to answer, you still have emails to respond to, and and then the work goes on on the road. So things still happen, and crime doesn't just stop because there's a new chief. You know what I mean? So
it should.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Fortunately, though,
don't try out running this chief. He's not gonna. He'll catch you. So So in Newport, your boss is the town manager.
Yes.
And over there, it's 3 commissioners.
It's 3 police commissioners who are appointed by the city council. So. Yep.
And does that tend to be a daily kind of?
No, it's they meet once a month. The police commission has existed for decades. It's existed in different forms. It's been, and it all depends somewhat on the makeup of the police commission about how they decide to interact. I will tell you, because of my history here and my experiences working directly for a town manager, I think that my relationship with the police commission will be different than it would have been if I had just stayed there. I'm used to having a very regular line open communication. So, and I don't see that changing just because I go there. But, these are people that have jobs, full-time jobs, right? And they do things that aren't police. It's and so they are responsible for the hiring, firing, promotion, demotion. They're responsible for policy implementation. They're, sort of generally provide budget oversight, but day-to-day operations is mine. And so yeah, every month, they have a police commission meeting. We provide them with reports about, what's happening in the different divisions of the police department, whether it be communications or patrol or administration or detectives. They get updates on our, statistical data. They get updates on policy updates on CALEA, because Claremont's a CALEA accredited organization. So they go through all these different things, and they, sometimes they have personnel updates, which
What's
are
CALEA?
It's the commission of the. You're going to put me on the spot.
Law enforcement agencies.
Law enforcement accreditation. Yeah,
okay.
Yeah. So it's the national accrediting body, and Claremont has been CALEA accredited for nearly 20 years now. 15 plus years we've held a CALEA accreditation. At the beginning of it, Claremont was one of very few agencies in the state of New Hampshire that was CALEA accredited, and accreditation covers a lot of topics. I think a lot of people just see accreditation as having to do with policies, and police departments aren't the only things that are accredited. There's a lot of things nowadays that are accredited, and I think a lot of it has to do with policies and practices, but it also has to do with the building and the way that you structure your facility and structure your organization. And so it really is kind of a wholesale sort of a map on how to operate in the 21st century. So yeah, we could talk all day about what accreditation is. I could.
When you use an acronym, I just want to make sure that our listeners.
So we have, we've talked about on this show before, we've talked about, the 6 pillars of 21st century policing that Barack Obama signed in 2015. We've talked about the Lee Act Commission that Governor Sununu impaneled and then ultimately signed the recommendations in August of 2021. And then most recently, President Biden signed an executive order with these same sort of reforms, law enforcement reforms at the federal level. All of those reforms, all of them talk about, transparency, accreditation, communication with the community, those types of things. But all of them talk about accreditation and having standardized best practice policies and procedures in place. So,
long answer
to a very, very short question. Yeah, about why I might be a stranger for a little while, right?
Yeah, exactly.
So what else is new?
We went to the training last Thursday.
That was good.
The presentation.
I'm glad. I was kind of hoping that there would be a few more folks, but it is what it is. Looking back on it, hindsight being 2020, I'm actually kind of glad there wasn't more people because I didn't really feel very well. In fact, I thought I might have had that stupid virus, but I didn't. So, but I thought it was okay, right?
Yeah, it was good.
Yeah.
It was. I flinched a couple times when you played the real 911 calls. It's jarring.
It is.
If you haven't listened to them and thought imagined yourself in, because you almost
Patty Nielsen.
It's horrible.
Yeah, and I think the one that gets me the most in that is the teacher from Sandy Hook, who's being interviewed by Diane Sawyer. In fact, I showed my wife that video, and then I could see her getting upset over the weekends. I just turned it off. I'm like, you don't need to see this. I'm not going to sit here and expose you to this.
It's hard. It was hard to watch and listen to some of it, but I think
absolutely important.
It helps with, imagine yourself in that situation to avoid deny, defend.
I think when you think about, not you guys, and I'm not saying everybody, right? But certainly after Uvalde, certainly the conversation has sort of made its way around to like these are happening so often that like we're becoming desensitized to them. And I think when you watch that teacher talk and about how, you know, she's emotional and talking about pushing these kids in the closet and, you know, telling them that like I thought the last thing that they were going to hear, I wanted my voice to be the last thing they heard before they died. You know, the little kid saying, I know karate and I'll go out and take care of it. But like when you listen to the things that she's saying, when she's like literally confronting the end of her life and the end of these little kids' lives, well, that's real. You know what I mean? And I think that makes it real again. And so if you were becoming desensitized, watch that video because then you'll be sensitized to it again.
Yeah, it was. It put out good information, and there were some good questions asked.
Yeah.
It was good to see we had some administrators, some teachers there, some town folks.
Yeah, I wish that the more I reviewed all the slides and all that stuff, and I wish that we got away from a little bit of the stuff about like door stops and that kind of stuff. Like get rid of that. That's, you know, yes, use door stops and push everything against the door. Boom, one slide and it's over with, right? You know, but let's focus on Sully. Let's focus on
training yourself to be able to handle the situation, not necessarily the actions,
but
whether you go into
Rick Rescorla and like these other heroes and
right, because he survived
terrible
situations,
awful situations,
Vietnam, and then doing that and going out as a hero.
Yeah, doesn't it? I mean, you see guys like that, right? And you think, like, that guy, that's just who he was. You know what I mean? He was just like at his core, he was just a hero. Right. You know what I mean? He fought at Yadrang Valley, and you know that was probably pretty awful. I mean, if you watch We Were Soldiers anyway, it looks pretty awful. And then you know, he gets into corporate security and he predicts the '93 terror attack, and like everything to that guy was all about like protecting his fellow man. That's pretty cool.
Some people are, I think, driven to
that.
They have a purpose of helping others. Teachers, doctors.
He sang songs to them. I didn't talk about this in the presentation, but he sang songs in the stairwells as he was escorting people down to comfort them, so that they would be like less wound up and they were able to, you know, sort of de-stress just a little bit, enough so that they could, you know, have that power of cognition, you know. And he was telling people, you're going to be okay, you go ahead, you can call, you know. And he called his wife while they were walking downstairs and told her he loved her, and kept on keeping on.
Yeah, it's awesome. Yeah. I mean, you know, it's a tragic story, but it's
of course
awesome for the human factor that he provided, that we can overcome and we can do great things under stress.
Yeah, no, definitely. I mean, is it something you'll do again at some point?
Yeah, I'd love to. Yeah.
I think it's very important.
Yeah, I've taught that presentation a number of times. I was hoping that, you know, that we could have a huge audience, and so maybe we'll swing for the fences again and try to put something on the calendar that we can advertise a little bit more. Again, there's been a fair bit of stuff going on, not just with me, but I mean, this was a week after graduation. There's just my timing may have been a little bit inappropriate, but I set it up right after Uvalde because it was like we've got to start this conversation.
No, I think it's good, because if somebody comes up and asks me a question, or some of the administrators, then, you know, but we had slides up there that show that there's coordination between the police department and the schools.
Yeah.
So it wasn't just about your reaction to stress. It was also like, we have thought about these things and we're communicating. So that's should be at least comforting on some level to know as a town person, you know, citizen of the town, that we're not
trying.
Just sitting around.
Yeah, we're trying.
Yeah, it's not going to happen here. Like, you're actively thinking about it, preparing for it.
And I definitely think that
not
Newport.
Preparing, but
yeah. Well, I think Newport's in a good position too to really strongly consider having some sort of threat management and assessment unit team, multidisciplinary team. I really believe that it's important, whether it be a Newport thing or maybe a Sullivan County thing, depending on what that would look like. But I think it's something that we really should, as a community, Big C, look into, because if we're going to prevent these things, that's what it's going to take. Right. It's not, and it's really unfair, I think, for everybody. I think it's unfair for the teachers. I think it's unfair to law enforcement. I think it's unfair to, just the everyday mental health clinicians, that when something happens, you look back and you're like, well, it's, that guy was on their radar, or that guy, the school should have picked up on that, or this is a mental health issue. But the reality is, and I'll speak the truth here. If a police officer gets called to the school for a situation that's concerning, their toolkit on how to deal with that student is probably not like super large. They're going to think, okay, let's remove them from the situation. Okay, so let's get them to their parent. Let's recommend to their parent that maybe they get into some sort of counseling. But at the end of the day, I have triaged the problem for today, and I'm done. But the reality is, and again, the school too, by and large, oftentimes will think like, okay, that kid was, just demonstrating threatening behavior. We've isolated him from the other students so that there's no concern from that student to the rest of the body. We've sent him to his or her guardian or guardians and recommended follow-up, and that's it. But the reality is, these situations are more complex than that. And, you may be sending a kid to a parent or guardian, which is actually triggering the problem. Right. They have all kinds of environmental problems, whether it be, because they're in an abusive family, or because they have neglectful parents, or the child is, suffering from homelessness, or the child has their own substance abuse disorder issues, whatever the case may be. Whether they're economically disenfranchised, or they have, personality disorders, or, exposure to violence. There's, any number of factors. And I think you have to take all of those things into account, and all of those things have to be brought to bear to try to mitigate the threat.
Yeah, I feel like you can't just blame the police or the school or whatever. It's you guys' hands are tied. Above that, even there's not. Okay, I'll call DCYF. Well, DCYF doesn't often do their job because they're so far behind. They don't have enough people to do anything. So, what are you going to do?
Well, I think that's the normal response. Like, what are you going to do? Right. And but the right answer is not nothing. The right answer is, well, we got to try something, right? Wasn't it like Sun Tzu said, like, it's better to do the wrong thing than to do nothing, Yeah. Clausewitz or something, Von Clausewitz or something like that. Like, in battle, it's better to just do something than to do nothing. But yeah, these problems are just so complicated, and we sometimes say, like,
you're dropping some Clausewitz on me.
You like that?
I like that.
Yeah. We can't fix 16 years of messed up life in 5 minutes on a call for service. Right. If a kid has been the victim of domestic violence or sexual violence, or if the kid is exposed to violence, living in poverty and not being fed, and has, is not taking his medication for his personality disorders or whatever, do you think that putting a one-year police officer in the situation and saying, like, here, dude, fix this guy, they're like, what? Right. we have to do better than that.
Right. I think some of it too is you need tougher laws on people. That just seems like the laws we have now just don't get followed. Not on your end, not like, just things happen and you're like, why is that dude out on the street again? There's no way. Like, we talk about all the time where we're like, if we did that, we'd be still in jail, right? Like,
we'd expect to be. Anyway,
right. And it just seems like they're way above our heads, whether it's at the federal level or state level. Like, they just keep making excuses for people, and the punishment's just not there anymore. And just you can arrest them all you want; it's not going to do any good because the judge is dutting them out on, Philadelphia is known for letting violent criminals out on the street, and they reoffend, and it's like, well, why is this happening? Well, because that DA keeps letting them out. It's stuff like that. I feel like that if if I do this, this is what's going to happen to me. You tend to be like, whoa, let's not do that. Like some countries, like if you steal, they cut your hand off. Now I'm not for that, obviously.
Yeah.
But like, well, don't steal, man. They'll cut your hand off. But now it's like you can just. There's so much you can get away with.
A shift from I can't think of the word.
General deterrence.
Yes, thank you.
Yeah, there's actually, pretty well documented research that it has a very, very, very minimal, if any, impact societally whatsoever. I mean, that's the whole. There's two reasons why people argue for capital punishment, right? It's retribution, eye for an eye, tooth for a tooth, and it's general deterrence. If I know that if I kill you, you're going to kill me, right, and you're the state, then I'm, in theory, less likely to kill you. That's the general deterrence piece, and then retribution is, well, you killed him, now I have to kill you. But there is some pretty well documented research that general deterrence has little, if any, actual societal impact. Specific deterrence, on the other hand, is probably much more effective. So if I am going to punish you because I don't want you to commit that crime again, that is probably more effective than I want to punish you to prevent Steve from doing what you did.
Right. Like the whole make an example out of
yeah.
it doesn't really.
I mean, but the thing is that that's hard to get your mind around. And I grew up in a sort of a strict household, and I believe in rules, and not just because I'm a police officer. I like rules. I like boundaries, and I like to follow them. I like to push them. And when I was a kid, I liked to break them and then deny that I broke them. But whatever, it is what it is, Yeah. So, in my heart, I feel exactly what you're saying. Like, we need to punish. We need to, we need to set an example. But then when you look at the research, it's like, does that even work? And I agree with you that we have a screwed up system right now when it comes to punishment, when it comes to bail. We have to fix that whole thing. Why are you letting people out on bail who are then committing multiple crimes while on release? Then they're getting rearrested and then put out again, and then and people are getting hurt, people are dying at the hands of somebody who's out on bail that we could have prevented, and it. So I that is frustrating. However, going back to the conversation we were having about, these sort of targeted violence situations, I agree with you about the punishment piece, but these things are like, you have to look at the individual as wholesale broken, and we have to fix them or address them from a wholesale thing. So I keep using these examples like substance abuse and homelessness, and they have social factors and environmental factors, and maybe they're not getting a good meal and all these other things, and we have to fix more than one of those things. So it's more than just discipline, it's discipline and all that other stuff too.
Right. It may not deter them from doing something wrong if their life's so horrible, they're kind of like, what do I got to lose?
Yeah, exactly. What do I have to lose? And they have this specific grievance against society or against some specific person or some specific institution, and they feel wronged. It really, I don't want to say it doesn't matter what you do, because sometimes it can. Sometimes we can sort of walk them away from that grievance a little bit, but oftentimes once they have focused on the fact that they have been aggrieved, don't focus on the grievance anymore. Focus on some other way to get them off the pathway.
It's like the guy spray painting the V for Vendetta.
Yeah, right.
Like that guy should have been tackled.
He was ugly, wasn't he? He was upset.
As soon as he started spray painting that, somebody should have tackled him.
It's interesting. When I was at the police academy, they showed all these videos of officer-involved shootings and officers who were attacked and ambushed, and more often than not, it was you could have seen it coming. because, the cop was like, howdy doody, he walked up there with his hands in his pockets, twirling his keys around or whatever, and you're like, dude, what are you doing? Like you're turning your back to the guy, and you're like, this is bad, this is bad. I remember one video where the guy is, the bad guy is loading his, I think the officer's name was Ding Keller, down South Carolina maybe. The bad guy's like loading a rifle with ammo, and he's just like, drop the gun, drop the gun, drop the gun, drop the gun, and you're like, dude, what? He's obviously not dropping the gun. You gotta do something different here, Even if you just run away, you gotta do something different. And then the guy finally loads his gun, he gets out and kills him.
Kills the cop?
Yeah. And as you watch these, you're like screaming at the television. You're like, what are you doing? Do something else, and
tragic.
Yeah, it is.
Because the cop was probably like, I don't want to have to kill a guy, right? Or shoot.
Yeah, or they get in that, they get in that headspace that we were talking about in the training, where it's like he becomes overwhelmed and his hormonally induced tachycardia raises, and all of a sudden, like, he can't process what's happening in front of him, so he goes back to this just like drop the gun, drop the gun, drop the gun, drop the gun. I'm not going to tell you again. Drop the gun, drop the gun. And I don't know. He's just, his brain is like playing a trick on him. You know what I mean?
It's crazy. It's tragic.
Yeah.
Yeah, like, that's crazy.
Yeah, but I appreciate the training and.
Yeah, I was only able
good.
to stay for half of it because of.
Yeah, you had. You had other important things to do. You're a busy guy.
Yeah, unfortunately.
Dude, Sox are crushing it, huh?
They are. They won again last night.
I saw that.
Swept the Tigers.
I saw that.
I guess y'all are welcome. I let them get all the stinkiness out of their performance when I went to that game and they lost.
They're going to start playing harder teams coming up.
Well, you got to win. The key.
When's the All-Star break?
I think it was the 19th of July.
Okay.
I think it's there. So a couple weeks. Yeah, they played good last night. They've been playing pretty good.
I watched the end of the game on Sunday, and they were up 6-1. 6-1? Yeah, 6-1. Yeah. And boy, they
almost lost it.
They almost lost it.
Yeah.
They had 2 outs, and then they scored 3 runs.
Yep.
And then they put a guy on second, and they obviously switched pitchers, and they were able to get the win. But wow.
Pitching's been the toughest thing for us this year.
Oh, really?
Yeah, because depending who they put out there, like, we had this older guy on the team that, when I say older, he's probably like 40, but he's slow. Like, he pitches slow. He's like 70. But now these guys are pitching 96, 98, 99, like, stupid. And he just doesn't seem to get it done. But last night, what was it, Walker? He was pretty good. And then it was cool because the guy that pitched last night was the same guy that was talking to some kid right in front of me. I went to the game on Monday, and I thought it was so cool because he came over to the kid, asked him his name. He's like, oh, that's a really cool name. Who's your favorite player? And he's like, I can't remember what he said, but he's like, oh, it's not me. And I'm like, huh. So it's
where did you sit?
We sat just behind the pesky pole, so like 7 seats up from the wall.
No kidding.
So during batting practice, he come over, and I didn't know who he was because I don't know the Detroit players, but so I looked up who he was and to get his name, and we talked about it on the show on Tuesday because I was really impressed that, because sometimes these athletes don't realize the power they have to influence somebody.
Yeah.
And this guy like totally took advantage of that and signed the ball for the kid, like talked to him for a minute, like that was huge. He started pitching last night. I'm like, oh shoot, he's a starter. There was another guy.
That kid will never forget that.
Exactly. I mean, I'm still talking about it, and I mean, it impacted me even. You know what I'm saying? Because it's like that's a positive impact you can have on someone. It's so simple, and it was pretty cool. There was another guy, one of their relief pitchers, was wearing a shirt that said "failed starter," and so he came over, and I was just like, "Hey, that's a good shirt," because it was just hilarious. But and I didn't realize that Roger Clemens' son plays on the Detroit Tigers. Is
he good?
He's just like getting started in it. He's a pitcher, but I think he does other stuff too. But Roger was there for like 2 innings talking, and it was pretty cool. Like, he's one of the best of all time. Like,
I saw Jim Rice on Nesson, and man, maybe I just haven't had Nesson in a while. So I got Jim Rice's autograph when I was a kid. He signed a baseball for me. Big man. I mean, he's a big man.
Not anymore.
No, he's frail.
He's small.
He's a little guy.
Yeah.
I don't say he's a little guy. He's probably still.
Right.
I'm certain he's not as big as I am. You know what I mean? Like, thunder and lightning. It doesn't just come by accident.
You got thunder and lightning.
You know what I mean?
What do you call your legs?
We don't talk about those
tornado
on air. Yeah.
Tornado.
But like, you can't get mass like this. You don't get swolled like I am just by like, doing nothing.
What do you weigh? About 158,
170. Yeah. Yeah. Gains, buddy.
I got some
gains
over here. I need to just put some weights.
I did my physical fitness test on Tuesday. So every 3 years you got to take a PT test to keep your certification. So this is my year. So I went down and did it on Tuesday. And
you good for another 3 years?
I'm good for another 3 years. Yeah, I passed. But
I say if you didn't pass, there's something wrong with the system.
Yeah.
Hey,
no, I passed.
In the Army, it's always stressful because you never know who's grading you, how they're going to grade. Because, I was doing what I thought my push-ups were perfect one time. And, somebody who outranked me was next to me. And they were, like, just moving their head down. And they were getting all theirs counted. And I was getting told no because...
You're touching your chest to the deck.
Like, what the bull? And I was high-ranking myself. Like, this is bull-larky. But anyway, I'd always get an upset stomach right before.
Yeah,
We do them every 6 months.
Yeah.
Or we did them.
I wasn't necessarily nervous, but, like, dude, I don't do full-body sit-ups ever. Like, they're not good for you. You know what I mean? They're bad on your neck. They're not really that good for your core. But we still do, like, fingers interlaced behind your head, full-body sit-ups timed. And again, like... At 40 years old, I only have to do 28 in a minute, which isn't a lot, but that's not who I am. It's full send, So I go for the full minute even after I get
to set a record.
Yeah, so I told the guy from the police academy, I was like, and I know him because we were at the police academy together, but I told him, I was like, when we get to the run, I'm gonna set like a master's record in the gerbil tube up there. Which was awful. I mean, the police academy's indoor running track is the worst running track in the history of man.
West Point had one that was. We did it. We ran around it for it's called the indoor obstacle course.
Okay.
And it's changed now because now they get the
now it's not hardcore.
Phones, they have TVs in their room.
Yeah.
They probably have
whatever,
all kinds of freedoms. But anyway, the indoor obstacle course was in the gym, and so. You had a ridiculous small amount of time to like do all these obstacles, and you end up on the second floor. You got to run with a medicine ball a couple laps around, and then you got to sprint as fast as you can. Anyway, when you would finish, because of all the chlorine in the building, you couldn't breathe right for like 3 days. I'm pretty sure that I should be able to file a complaint with the VA for if I ever have lung damage because of the amount of chlorine. I mean, it's. You can ask anybody. Well, now with the new gym, it may not be like that. They should pump it in.
Saltwater pool, probably.
So at the police academy, they have...
So painful. For 3 days, couldn't breathe.
They have their indoor shooting range is on the second floor. And it sits like this, you know what I mean? So that's the shooting range. Well, out here is their running track. It's on the outside. It's a hallway. And so it's got walls that go all the way up. There's absolutely zero airflow inside. And it has it's a hallway. It has long hallway here, short here. So in order to make it 1.5 miles, you have to run 17.25 laps, which if you want me to do the math, that's 69 corners that you have to make in 1.5 miles. That's a lot of cornering. You're constantly cornering.
On your left knee too the whole time, right? 'Cause you get the reverse direction.
So just for like perspective, when we ran the Covered Bridge, or the Sunshine 5K rather, I think I ran 5:30 pace, right, for the whole thing. I ran this at 5:39, and I was flat out. I couldn't have gone any faster. But I think that's because of the cornering. Right. 69 corners, you know what I mean? Yeah. It looks stupid, I'm up there running like an idiot in a hallway.
You're running like that, and it's all on your left knee, too, because if you're, I don't know. Maybe
it sucked.
Because I weighed.
Yeah, it was unpleasant.
I like to, reverse my routes. I don't know. Did you ever do that? Like, if you run this way down a road, you want to make sure you run back. And that,
Yeah, well, Some people, I don't know, I run with some people who hate out and back loops or out and back runs. I kind of like out and backs.
Yeah, I hate loops because then, like, even just doing it on a regular track, you sit there and you're like, I got to do this 8 times.
Or like a big loop, you're like, okay, I'm going to run a 20-mile run today, but I'm going to run a loop. So, like, you go, a long way. I just like the feeling that, like, okay, I only have like a half an hour more that I have to go out. Well, if you really thought about that, you're like, yeah, but I still have an hour and a half left to run. You know what I mean?
I like to not repeat what I'm seeing. I like to change the scenery.
You do.
Like if I run this way, then 2 days later I'll run it the opposite way just because. But
my favorite.
I don't like to see where I'm going.
My favorite would be to say, like, okay, I'm going to run.
6 in the sticks would be good for me if I was in shape.
That's this weekend, right?
Last weekend.
Last weekend. Did you run it?
No.
When is the last time you ran, by the way, besides the Sunshine 5K?
The greatest thing for me when I retired was I no longer had to exercise. I no longer had to get my feet wet because I hate dew getting in on my socks. I don't like having water.
And then
it's like I have a weird tick.
You want to know the worst experience of my life? You're nervous right now, aren't you?
No.
So I went to officer candidate school for the Marine Corps in Quantico, Virginia, in the summer of 2001.
Just being surrounded by Marines.
No, but we did.
Felt safe.
We did like this, all night hump, and then we were out in the field for a day or two. That heat, and being in like camouflage utility uniforms for days. I'm not going to say any more, but like I had trouble with like just not being able to get clean and just all that sweat and humidity.
Was your face painted? Did you have camouflage on your
Yeah,
face?
The whole show, man.
Yeah,
all
the worst part,
all that stupid stuff that it never comes off, and you gotta carry your rifle and fire blanks, and obviously blanks. There's way more like.
Yeah, you're just going to take longer.
Carbon, and it's just they're awful. They're disgusting. So you try to get with like another fire team that's going to do all the firing, and then you just kind of fake it so you don't have to clean your rifle after, right? But like the amount of like rot and like just chafage and pain in areas that aren't supposed to chafe. Never again.
Yeah.
Quantico, Virginia in the summer, dude. No bueno.
Yeah, I'm fine. I love being retired. I don't have to do that anymore.
You used to have to do nothing until you met me.
Yeah, I used to just sit here and wait for gardening season. I'd go and I'm clearing trails out so that Nikki and I can walk because it's 20 acres. But so I'm working on walking trails and just doing stuff for me, really.
That's awesome.
I know.
What a great life, man.
It was.
It's like a Toby Keith song. I want to talk about me.
Exactly. But I feel like I earned it, just like from you, that one experience, right? Like it was.
You earned it.
I did that for 25 years.
I wrecked it on him.
Yeah, and you grew up in
4
Texas.
Years of it, it's West Point.
You grew up in Texas.
It's hot in Texas.
Yeah. And humid, depending on where in Texas you are, right?
It was very humid where I lived.
You probably have experienced chafage in your day.
Yes, but I know what you're talking about.
You know what I'm talking about.
You get chafed.
Yeah, that's the one I'm talking about, bud. Yeah, and it doesn't go away because you don't get out of the environment. That's the problem.
For as long as you're there.
As long as you're there, and it's like I have to deal with this somehow. I gotta get out of here.
That's why I love not having to. I can't walk around in dewy grass unless I have on my muck boots. I don't. That was the worst part, was getting my feet wet at PT every morning because I hate having wet socks. Brand new pair of shoes and they'll stink within 2 days. And I wash my feet. But I shower probably twice a day.
Still or that?
Still. It drives my wife nuts because I have a lot of laundry because if I shower, I take off my clothes and put on clean clothes.
It's like when I'm like in the middle of a build up for a marathon, I run twice a day, and particularly like if it's warmer weather, I don't wear warm weather running clothes more than once. I will wear like cold weather running clothes more than once because I don't sweat as much, and I don't want to wash
Well, you're layered too.
Yeah, you're layered, right? And I don't want to wash like heavier clothes every time I run, but like you know, if I'm doubling in the summertime, that's a lot of clothes changes, you know.
I get chastised for it, and not that. Again, I don't expect Nikki to do my laundry. I tell you that story. When we first got married, I asked her if she could press my BDUs, which is our press uniform, and she put some starch on there, set the iron down, and walked off. And my pants caught on fire. And I've never asked her to really iron my clothes.
She did not. Did she do it on purpose?
I think so. She says no, but I'm pretty sure like that was a message to me that like she's not going to be doing my laundry for me.
Oh wow!
She rolls the house.
That's how the Below Brawler rolls. So after that, I went and I found a place to get them pressed. Just dropped them off every week. Good times with the Morris household. Passive aggressive, lighting my pants on fire. Anyway.
All right, Brent.
Got to balance, man.
Yeah, off to other things.
Yeah, busy.
All right,
busy. We'll see you in a week.
We'll see you in a week.
Yep.
Appreciate it.
All right, guys. Thanks for watching, and we'll talk to you tomorrow.